When I was in seminary 16 years ago, give or take, our oldest, Isaac, who's now 17, would have been about 1. You can do the math there. Remember, we walked into a church for the very first time. We were looking for a place to worship, and we were met by a sweet old lady, and we asked her, hey, where is the infant's nursery? And she looked at us kind of sheepishly and said with a great apology, we don't have a nursery, because they didn't have any kids. The thought of worshiping with a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, an infant was daunting. At least in that church, it was so old, they had pew boxes. Maybe you've seen these things if you've traveled in New England. The pew actually had a door. Each pew had its own door. And so what we ended up doing was taking Isaac with some of his trucks, and we'd go into the pew and shut the door, and he'd run them around on the floor, and it actually worked out pretty well. As old as our church is, we don't have pew boxes, as you know. I kind of wish we did right now. And so it's got me scratching my head. How are we going to be able to support you who are thinking about bringing very young children back to worship as we consider coming back here on July 12th and then following? I think you're probably aware, at least at first, we're not going to open the infant's nursery. We're not going to have children's church. And some of you might not be comfortable coming back at all. And if that's the case, that is fine. But for those of you who are considering coming back with your kids, I want to do everything we can to support you, because I know what a challenge that is. And I admire your desire to model worship for your kids. And so here are basically the two options. And what I want you to hear more than anything else is both are available to you and both are supported by me and everyone else here at the church. What matters most is what you're comfortable with. You are likely already aware we will have 2 services, as we have for seems like ever now. We'll have a modern service, we'll have a traditional service. Both of those services, however, will be held in the sanctuary right above me. You can probably tell I'm in Fellowship Hall. You, with your kids, are welcome in both of those services. And believe me, I understand. Kids are going to be kids. There might be a little squirming. There might be some noise. There might be all of that. And I understand that. And I believe the vast majority of our congregation understands that too. And so if you would like to come as a family, we're going to be separating, every other pew. We're going to be spaced out. We're going to be safe. We very much encourage you to do that. But I remember what it's like being a parent with very young kids. It wasn't all that long ago. And even as the pastor understood and the people around us understood, I was still anxious about the noise our kids were making, about their squirming, about having to leave to go to the bathroom, all that stuff. And so if you are concerned about that, if you're anxious about that, what I want you to hear is the fellowship hall will be set up for you, for that express purpose. Not to make things better for us, pastor and congregation, but better for you, so that you can have a space where you are worshiping with your kids and you can relax, because anybody that's down here gets that that's what this space is all about. We're going to put those round tables out. We're going to space them way apart. It'll be one family per table. We'll put some coloring pages and take home crayons on those tables, things like that. Jeanette Axford is working on the setup. And the screens will be down, and we will broadcast the service that's happening right above our head in the sanctuary onto those screens. We'll be so close that you'll hear the pipe organ. The doors will be open. You might even hear people singing. It will be as close to possible as you being right there, except if your kids get up and dance around, if they ask you a question, if they need to go to the bathroom, any of that type of thing, you can give them your attention without having to worry one bit about what anyone is thinking. And so that's what this space is for. What I don't want you to hear is, hey, we don't want your squirmy kids up in the sanctuary. You need to come down here. No, that's not the message. The message is this is here for you if it helps. We put out a survey last week asking people to give us some sense of what they're planning to do. And so if you haven't already filled out that survey, it would be really helpful if you would do that for us, especially as we are setting up spaces like this. Again, if you are hesitant about returning to worship, I fully understand. If, however, you are considering returning, and there are simply some things you are trying to work through, please consider this space as an option for you, and hear that we want to support you in any way that we can. And so if you have something in mind and we have not yet addressed it, please reach out to me and let me know what we can do to help you as we return to worship together. I love you. I miss you. Looking forward to seeing many of you again soon. And we will worship Jesus in new ways, but just as genuinely and passionately as we always have. Thanks, everyone.